Hello, and welcome back to the second part of our housing safely and staying safe in our homes as we age, and also navigating, what housing security really looks like and some of the safety precautions that we need to be aware of so that we can age in place independently and safely. And also, through this series as well, we're going to be navigating the topic of, how do we also combat potentially housing insecurities as well with this topic. And, also kind of wrap in some food insecurity, resources, and all the things. So anyways, I'm excited for you guys to join us for this second part. And again, I'm Jen with Aging Advantage, and Aging Advantage is a non-for-profit organization here in the St. Louis area. We support St. Louis and the surrounding area here in Missouri, and we are able to do that through partnerships with grants and also local funding donations. And, we'll be able to provide you all with educational opportunities like this, so that you can learn how, again, to just kind of combat some of those housing insecurity issues, food insecurities, etc., and really be able to live more self-reliance and more self-resilience and more independently as you age, gracefully, we hope. So anyway, we like to provide you guys with a lot of different, just really important educational topics that are not only relevant here in St. Louis, but also relevant for that matter, for anyone around the country. So please feel free to share this information, this or any of our other videos, please, with anyone that you think it might be able to help or benefit. We would absolutely love that. So today, again, we're going to be diving into, some other things, such as, common challenges, and again, things just kind of that we need to be aware of and kind of need to pay attention to. We're also going to be looking at different resources that are available to help us combat, some of these issues and address some of these issues from a supportive, again, loving, non-judgmental place. So I'm excited again for you all to, learn some more information surrounding this topic. And again, just, housing security is just such an important topic. And again, we have to feel safe in our own homes. And, again, from a financial standpoint, from a safety standpoint, etc., for us to be able to navigate, the rest of the world. I always say, I always joke, but out there in the wild, once we leave our home, and have more peace about all the things and have more certainty and security. And again, I think that's just so important. But again, it starts with the home. So that's why I'm excited, to continue again this conversation today. So as always, get cozy, get comfy. And, for this one, you might want to grab a pen and piece of paper because you might need to take some notes on some of these resources. But obviously, as always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask, and we will absolutely provide you with those resources. Again, further, we'll try to link some of them as well, if we can. But as always, get whatever you're drinking, get cozy, and let's get started. Okay, so today we're going to start with, again, real conversations. we kind of touched on a little bit, about in the first presentation, but again, we're going to dig into these a little bit deeper. So let's talk honestly, about some of these challenges, because one of the main reasons why people don't seek out help is that they're just not sure what they're actually experiencing is serious enough to qualify. And sadly enough, my goodness, I see this every day. so do all of our social workers and case managers and care managers and, all of the support staff that works for me, here at Aging Advantage. We all hear this and see this sadly every single day. People, will say again, and I think some of it, like we talked about last time, is some of that pride, etc. And especially we say that sometimes even worse. And I'm going to say worse in a bad way, but even more pronounced. I'll say that instead. In some of our like aging veterans population, specifically. But they don't think it's serious enough, or it's somebody else has it way worse off than I have. So they don't want to, potentially take that resource away from somebody else who might be able to benefit more. And, it's sad. So we need to have these honest conversations. And, like I want to say clearly, if any of the things we're talking about, to discuss are on your mind, you are exactly who those resources are designed for. So the first challenge, again, like we discussed, is kind of rising costs. So this is something that so many older adults are really facing right now. Rents have increased significantly over the past several years in many parts of the country, not just here, in the St. Louis area. Property taxes also, again, being more specific, right? Expanding on some of these topics, like property taxes can also creep up year after year, and homeowners insurance costs are also climbing. And so again, people on fixed income, whether it's Social Security, pension, retirement savings, etc., those rising costs of all those other things can put real pressure on somebody's budget that doesn't have a lot of financial flexibility really to begin with. So, when these housing costs take up too much of a portion of your overall budget and income, it leaves less room for everything else, for food. But also, again, getting more granular, like I was talking about for this presentation too, like food, but also as we age, I mean, goodness, medication costs can be, just completely absurd for some people and so high depending on, the type of medication and the person and all the things that they're trying to navigate, sometimes where they're getting it from, sourcing it, etc. Transportation is also another one that can be extremely costly and expensive if someone's not part of a rideshare program. They might, if they don't have a caregiver, or things like that. Transportation, especially for people that are in, wheelchairs or need some kind of assistance like that, to and from doctor's appointments, etc., all the things. Even again, medical testing, costs, co-pays, deductibles, all the things, and just also the activities that make life more enjoyable as well can absolutely take up, some of the budget and make it feel financially really straining. The second challenge here again is going to be utility bills. So heating and cooling a home is expensive. And especially in our lovely Midwest here, where the weather is all over the place on a daily basis, all the parts of the year. We have extreme climate here, sometimes with really hot summers, and then we can also get really cold winters. And so electric bills and gas bills and water bills, all these costs can really add up quickly. And older adults are often more vulnerable to extreme temperatures. They like it, a certain temperature, that's it. They, a lot of times they age and they get more frail and less body fat and all the things. They are very sensitive to when it gets cold, or same thing, when it gets a lot hotter. And, so just trying to keep it comfortable without the extreme temperature fluctuations can be absolutely a financial strain. But, also for some of these older people as well, like as they age, it's not just about them, being uncomfortable, but again, the extreme swing in temperature, hot or cold, on their bodies can genuinely make it dangerous for them to cut corners on not having, proper heat or air conditioning. Third, there's also, again, home maintenance. So when something breaks in a home, like a water heater or a furnace or a roof, etc., or it might even be something minor, like again, the windows need to get repaired and they're, not sealing right anymore. And then the windows not sealing right are allowing that cold air to creep in, or the heat, from the summer to creep in the home, etc. But those repair costs can be significant. So for homeowners that are on limited incomes, there might not simply be the savings to address all these problems promptly. So they have deferred maintenance, and that has a way of just kind of snowballing as well that we have to be aware of. So a small leak that doesn't get addressed, maybe coming from the kitchen, under the kitchen sink or something like that, can become a huge water damage problem, in the basement or something. And then can lead to mold, mildew, and all kinds of other things that then can end up happening as well, with more repair costs that then occur. A worn step can become a fall hazard, etc. So these issues don't just affect like the safety of the home, but they can also affect the value of a person's most important asset, which is their home as well. Fourth is accessibility. So our bodies change as we age, if we like it or we don't like it, but it happens, or if we are maintaining, again, a chronic condition or trying to recover from an illness or an acute injury that, just happened. And again, we're trying to navigate, what does life look like now? Because it didn't look like this 2 weeks ago before we went in the hospital, but maybe we had a stroke, maybe we had a fall, we broke a hip, whatever happened, maybe we got diagnosed with cancer, and so now our body's getting weaker, we're on chemotherapy or something, whatever that looks like. Maybe we look at, we have some kind of injury that occurred, and like now all of a sudden reactively we have to figure out how to accommodate this. And so the home that we've lived in comfortably for years may start to feel like it's working against us, because it might not work anymore for our current situation and our current conditions. So stairs that were never a problem before now become difficult. And like we talked about, in the previous episode, also, what is at the other end of those stairs that now the person doesn't also have access to, whatever that is. Maybe it's their bedroom was upstairs and they can't do the stairs, and their bathroom was upstairs. So now they're sleeping in a recliner or on the couch on the main floor. And, again, they're maybe using a half bath on the main floor to go to the bathroom, brush their teeth, wash their face, or other parts, but they haven't taken an actual full shower in weeks now because they can't navigate the stairs. And again, bathtubs can become risky now, and it was maybe safe before. The other thing too we don't think about often is doorways. So doorways now also all of a sudden might not be wide enough, or hallways also too, for a walker or especially a wheelchair. So these accessibility challenges are among some of the most common reasons that older adults end up leaving their homes way before they really want to. And fifth, there's that transportation issue again. So now you might be wondering, why is transportation a housing issue? Why are we even talking about that here? So home isn't just four walls. It's your connection really to the rest of the world. And I want you guys to kind of think a little bit broader and a little bit bigger on this. But if you can no longer drive, or if driving has become difficult and you live somewhere without accessible public transportation, your ability to get to the doctor, to pick up your groceries, to get your medications, if they're not getting, delivered, if you're, I should say, like nowadays, I mean, you could get your groceries delivered to your house or you could get medications delivered to your house, but same thing, your ability to go pick up groceries if you need to do that, or pick up medications, visit friends, or even attend community events or things that you actually, once enjoyed, maybe your grandkids, games or events, etc., now become severely limited. So transportation and housing security are really closely linked, especially for people living in suburban or rural areas for sure. And I want to pause here, just for a moment, because I know some of you may be listening to this list and thinking, yeah, like that kind of does sound like me. Or that sounds like someone I love, or that, I'm caregiving for, or my neighbor, maybe, somebody that, is in my world. And if so, I want you to just hold on and pause here, because in the next section, in section here, and slide, we're going to be talking about what you can do about it and some of the resources that are available to all of you. This part of the presentation, I love, love, love the most, because it is where we get to say help exists. Real, meaningful, practical, implementable help. And much of it is far more accessible than most people realize. So let's go through some of these main categories. The first is property tax relief. And some of these, again, as we're going through, might not be something that you would have originally thought of at all. But again, there are so many resources out there, I have learned doing this role, that I want to just make you guys aware of. There's so many niche opportunities for you guys to be supported, and we're going to go through them. So again, first is going to be property tax relief. So many states and local governments and local areas provide property tax exemptions, freezes, or reductions for older adults, people with disabilities, or income, or individuals that have a certain income threshold. So these programs can vary quite a bit, and do know that, depending on where you live, but they can make a substantial difference financially. If you own your home and your property taxes feel unmanageable, this is one of the first places, honestly, to look. So your county's assessor's office, your local, or also, your local area agency on aging. So for us here in St. Louis area, that'll be SLAY, or a housing counselor can help you figure out what you might qualify for. And, again, if you have questions, let us know too, and then we can also help point you in the right direction. But that is definitely a take your pen out and write that down. So I'm going to repeat it again for the people in the back that weren't paying attention. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm going to repeat it again so you guys can write this down. So again, if you think that, property tax relief might be something that you would like to try to seek out and see if you might qualify for, your county assessor's office, your local area agency on aging, and here again in that the St. Louis area is going to be SLAA, so SLAAA. Us here at Aging Advantage, we can reach out to us, and we'll be happy to support you and get you all aimed in the right direction. Or also, like a housing counselor can help you to figure out, again, what you might qualify for. So write that down. The second is going to be utility assistance. So there are several programs designed specifically to help people afford their heating and cooling costs. And again, this is where us at Agent Advantage, we can absolutely help you guys with this as well. We can get you supported and get you all pointed in the right direction. So reach out to us or any of these programs as well directly, like I'm about to list. So pen and paper, public service announcement, get out the pen and paper again. So a local, local areas have, again, different kind of support programs, but the federal LIHEAP program, and I'm going to spell that, that is LIHEAP program. So that's going to stand for Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. But that will provide funds to help eligible households to pay their energy bills. So many utility companies also have their own assistance programs. They can also put you on budget billing or special rates for seniors or customers that are experiencing financial hardship. And we can kind of, again, reach out to us if you need, and we can kind of help you navigate through some of that as well. So if your utility bills are a source of stress, it is worth calling your provider directly, which, absolutely do that first. But in asking them, just ask, like, hey, what options are available for somebody, who's experiencing, some financial strain or some financial instability. And honestly, again, you guys, you would be absolutely surprised. So definitely do that. Third is going to be home repair grants. I did not know that also this was a thing, but this is absolutely an option sometimes. So there are grant programs, meaning money that you don't have to pay back, that are specifically designed to help low-income homeowners repair and preserve their homes. So example, like the USDA. Okay, I'm going to say this is a pen moment, pen and paper, write this down if you're going to be rural, possibly, but the USDA Rural Development Program, for example, offers repair programs and grants for eligible rural homeowners. Many cities and states also have their own grant programs as well. So here in the St. Louis area, we have, some opportunities available as well for funding. Some non-for-profit organizations, including some county development corporations and faith-based organizations, offer repair assistance through volunteer labor sometimes or donated materials that are incredible. And these programs often focus on health and safety related repairs, fixing things like a broken furnace, like we discussed, or repairing a roof, or addressing some of the plumbing issues. And sometimes some of the construction programs are, kind of like through colleges or I guess, like training programs, like Rankin Technical College or, different places like that too. Sometimes even some of the high schools as well, besides colleges or training, certification training programs will also have things that you can apply for as well to have them deploy, some of their people that are needing places to do training on that you can, qualify for as well and get yourself added to the list to have, to have your home be one of the locations that they fix and that they support. And that can be, again, just a beautiful win-win for them to learn and, them to give and you to be able to, graciously receive. And that can just be a beautiful exchange as well, which I absolutely love. So again, these programs often, focus on a lot of times like the health and safety kind of related repairs, not an example like, well, this wall was blue, but it would be really nice if someone could paint this wall white, or I'd really like this wall painted purple. typically they're not going to do those kinds of things, but they're going to again help fix and repair, foundational home issues that might be crucial and key, kind of safety and health related. So fourth is going to be weatherization programs. And I'm just going to say this again. I had no idea that this was available either, but this is also a thing. So winterization programs. The Federal Winterization Assistance Program, often called WAP, so WAP, helps low-income individuals provide the energy efficiency of their homes at no cost. So this means adding additional insulation, ceiling drafts, like we talked about with window situations that might be, causing hot or cold drafts to come in the home, upgrading heating and cooling systems, and other improvements that can reduce energy usage and lower utility bills. The long-term savings from weatherization can be significant. And for many homeowners, these are improvements that they could never afford on their own. Fifth is care management. So care managers, and we have a lot of care managers here in our organization, Aging Advantage, that can help. But care managers sometimes you'll also hear them sometimes called case managers. You're going to hear that lingo or slang terminology exchanged kind of back and forth. But so they can be called the care manager or case manager. But they're often professionals who can help older adults and their families navigate the full range of services available in their community. So, I want you guys to kind of think of a care manager as a guide and kind of like a resource connector person, okay? So they help to assess your situation first. Secondly, they're going to help you identify really what do you need? And then they're going to third help you to access those services. They can even sometimes help with getting you the applications and helping to, navigate through getting the applications filled out into all the places they need to go, etc. And a lot of times, these types of care managers or case managers are absolutely free to all of you to be able to access through, grant funding that a non-for-profit organization such as ourselves has access to. And again, we're all here to help and, to support you guys and navigate you through some of these complex situations because, someone who is trying to manage all these different kinds of health conditions and potentially recent hospitalizations or significant functional limitations, et cetera, and all of these financial challenges and home safety issues, et cetera, let's just pause for a second. That all sounds like a lot, and it is a lot for somebody to try to navigate on their own. And then again, also try to figure out any of these resources and who they need to be talking to, where they need to be, applying these applications to and where they go and all the things. And so that's where, care management can really become a beautiful thing and a beautiful person to be able to partner with and just an incredibly valuable resource for all of you. And again, most of the time that is free. So we like that even better. So the sixth is aging services. And this is also a beautiful thing. So this is really kind of a broad category that encompasses many of the things that we've already talked about, plus a whole lot more. So again, pen and piece of paper. So your local area agency on aging, and again, here in the St. Louis area for all of you, that's going to be SLAE. So St. Louis Area Agency on Aging. It is, yes, a tongue twister. But again, that's going to be get your pen out. That's going to be, again, abbreviated SLAAA. If you didn't write it down the first two times, now is your opportunity. But anyway, so we have, again, agency services like this, but locally, again, that's what we have here. And they're an incredible organization. And they're one, of the most important resources available to older adults and their families. And they can help you also to connect with home delivered meals, transportation, in-home help, sometimes even with like daily tasks, legal assistance, caregiver support, family caregiver support, and a whole lot more. So again, in the St. Louis area, it's going to be the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging, and they're a great place to start. We at Aging Advantage would also be a good place to start. So again, you can reach out to us as well, and we can help to kind of get you figured out and pointed in the right direction as well. If you're more comfortable than that, with us, then, reaching out to the city. But these services are designed specifically for people 60 years and older. So know that. Or, also sometimes, there can be programs as well that are kind of rolled into some of these things. Or they can help navigate you in the right direction as well for people that also, can have like disabilities too. So, many programs, again, are free or they're available on a sliding scale based on somebody's income. So, at the end of this session that we're at now, I just want to pause for a second and, just say something here kind of in closing is that, these programs exist because older adults like you built them. Okay. People, over time that have experienced some of these challenges have graciously been able to give us all feedback, all of us different organizations. And a lot of us organizations such as ourselves, with Aging Advantage, we work directly with and under, SLAE here in St. Louis to be able to support them. So SLAE is kind of like, the joke of kind of like Verizon, right? You might see SLAE as one organization, but just know behind the scenes, they have like 30 plus, might be actually like 70, 80 plus, whatever, but there's tons of organizations behind them that they are co-linked to that are resources that are available to all of you. So again, they're a great place to start, and they'll get you connected to the type of resource and support that you need. But again, people like yourself, either you personally navigating this or somebody that you love navigating this, has over time helped to continue to give feedback to organizations like us or like SLAE to know what kind of services to offer and, how better to support all of you. So, all of those, feedback conversations have really contributed to the systems also that help fund them. And, that then allows you all to have access ultimately, to some of these free programs, which has been, just an incredible partnership all the way around. So using these resources, again, just remember, is not a burden to anyone. And, please don't be, too prideful or, too, I don't know, again, just, thinking that like, oh yeah, like my situation might not, it's really not that bad. It's not, it's not bad enough, or I don't want to inconvenience someone, etc. But, these programs, are, this is exactly what they are, here for, is to be able to, to support all of you and to be able to help you guys, again, feel more successful and be more successful, financially, especially, and help you feel and get more stable from a housing security standpoint. And that's why all these things are put in place. So again, thank you for joining us for this part 2, and stay tuned for the next session that we are going to talk more a little bit again about the housing security issues and safety issues. And the next presentation that we're going to do, we're going to focus on more of those home safety things that you need to be aware of. And again, the resources that I'm going to provide you all with too in that session, so that you can access those things to create a safer, more stable environment for you to be able to age more independently in place. So thank you for joining us today. And if you know somebody, again, who this presentation might benefit, please share this with them so they can learn as well and take advantage of the options, and available resources that are out there. And again, please like, or share, subscribe, comment, etc. to our Facebook page at Aging Advantage, and also our YouTube page, so that you don't miss more incredible content like this. Thank you all for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and each other.